Dear Starseed from Gaia, what you quietly surrendered in the dark, the tears no one witnessed, the love you held without reward, the prayers you released into the silence. Those acts of sacred devotion were never lost. I am Ophelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I am delivering this message directly from the reunion guides who have watched over your twin flame journey from the very beginning. They are speaking now because the time you have been holding space for in your heart is no longer approaching, it is arriving. Something you did in silence years ago planted a seed in the spiritual field that connects you to your divine counterpart. You may have forgotten that moment. You may have dismissed it as weakness, as loss, as an ending. But the reunion guides do not forget. Every act of love you offered without expectation, every boundary you held to protect your sacred heart, every night you chose healing over bitterness, those were not small things. Those were agreements written in divine light, and your twin flame's soul received every single one of them. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly how to recognize what is now being returned to you and how to align your heart with the divine union that has already been set in motion. But here is the first revelation. The silence was never separation. It was preparation. The distance you endured was not a sign that your twin flame was gone. It was the sacred space in which both of your souls were being made ready for a love that could actually hold what you two carry together. You did not find this transmission by chance. Your heart called this message in at the exact moment the reunion guides confirmed the shift in your connection. Something has moved. Something has changed in the unseen space between you and him. And your soul already knows it. This is not content. This is a moment of divine intervention, and your soul has been waiting for this guidance, longer than your human mind can measure. Like this transmission to affirm to the universe, my heart is ready for divine love. Subscribe if you are on the twin flame path and aligning with sacred union. Comment 11:1 if you feel your heart awakening to what is coming. Share this with someone who has been waiting in silence because they need to hear this too. Your heart knows why you are here. You didn't know you were building something. That's the part no one tells you. When you were sitting in the quiet of your own becoming, choosing yourself when it hurt, releasing people who couldn't see you, crying prayers into the dark that felt like they were going nowhere, you were not falling behind. You were not being passed over. You were laying foundation. Sacred, invisible, unshakable foundation that your future is now standing on. Think about what a foundation actually is. You never see it. When you walk into a building that has stood for 100 years, you don't look down at the concrete beneath the floor and marvel at it. You sit in the warmth of the room. You notice the light coming through the windows. You feel the stability beneath your feet without ever consciously registering it. But if that foundation were not there, if someone had skipped that part, rushed that part, decided that the visible things mattered more than the invisible ones, the entire structure would eventually collapse. No matter how beautiful the walls, no matter how carefully chosen the furnishings, without the foundation, nothing stands. And you, in your quiet season, in your invisible years, were not decorating walls. You were pouring concrete. You were doing the work that makes everything else possible. The work that holds the weight of what is coming. And he felt it. Not consciously, not in a way he could name or explain to anyone around him. But somewhere beneath the noise of his own life, something shifted. A pull he couldn't locate. A restlessness that wasn't about his career, his friendships, or anything he could see. It was about you, the frequency you were quietly building in rooms no one else was in the moments you chose honesty over comfort, in the mornings you got up and kept going when staying down would have been so much easier. There is something almost miraculous about this, and it deserves to be held for a moment. He felt something he could not name. He felt a shift in the atmosphere of his own inner life, and he had no vocabulary for it. No framework that his logical mind could reach for. Just a sense, persistent, recurring, impossible to dismiss, that something was changing. That someone was out there. That somewhere in the world, a frequency was rising that had always belonged to him on some level he couldn't articulate. This is what the mystics have always tried to describe. This is what the ancient Song of Solomon was reaching toward when it wrote of a love that could not be quenched by water, that rivers could not drown. It is not metaphor. It is mechanism. Soul-level signal crossing the distance between two lives that have not yet intersected in the physical world, but have already begun to find each other in the unseen. Not every soul who hears this message is ready to act on it. But if your heart is beating differently right now, if something inside you whispered, "This is for me," then the next step has already chosen you. The Divine Love Frequency Code holds the complete activation sequence for sacred partnership, the wound clearing, the recognition map, the 11-minute practice that shifts your entire energetic field. You'll find it in the first pinned comment below, but only while this window remains open. Now let's talk about what actually happened during those silent years. Because most people look back on that period of their lives and call it lost time. They measure it by what wasn't there, the relationship that didn't come, the love that felt withheld, the companionship they kept waiting for. But that framing misses everything. Those years were not empty, they were an initiation. And initiations are not meant to be comfortable. They are meant to be complete. The word initiation carries a weight that most modern people have forgotten how to feel. In the ancient world, initiation was understood as a passage that could not be bypassed. The mystery schools of Egypt, the rites of indigenous peoples across every continent, the spiritual traditions that predate written language, all of them held in common this understanding that some things cannot be taught, they can only be lived through. The caterpillar does not learn to fly by being told about wings. It enters the darkness of the chrysalis, surrenders every form it has known, and allows itself to be completely unmade before it is remade into something capable of flight. That dissolution is not a mistake, it is the process. And if you tried to cut open the chrysalis to speed things along, to rescue the butterfly from its own transformation, you would end up with a creature that could not survive. The struggle is what builds the strength. The darkness is what builds the wings. Every time you sat with your pain instead of running from it, you were completing something. Every time you told the truth in a situation where a lie would have been easier, you were completing something. Every time you honored your own knowing, even when everyone around you looked at you like you were being too much, or too sensitive, or too whatever word they used to make themselves more comfortable with your depth. You were completing something. You were closing loops, healing timelines, dissolving the residue of old agreements that would have kept you circling the same kind of love, the same kind of disappointment, the same kind of almost, but not quite. Let that phrase land fully. Almost, but not quite. How many of those have you endured? How many connections that had all the right ingredients on paper, but something essential was missing at the center of them? How many times did you find yourself lying awake in a relationship that should have been enough, and wondering why it felt like you were still somehow alone? Those experiences were not failures of your lovability. They were not evidence that there was something fundamentally broken in you. They were the universe, with infinite patience and sometimes maddening precision, showing you what a misaligned frequency feels like from the inside, so that when the aligned one arrives, you will know it with every cell. Not because it is perfect, but because it is real, because it resonates at the same depth that you have been quietly building toward this whole time. There is a pattern that most souls on this path go through, and it tends to happen in the silence. Not in the big dramatic moments, not in the breakdowns or the breakthroughs people post about, in the quiet, in the ordinary. In the Tuesday morning when you sat with your coffee and made a decision about who you were going to be, and then you actually kept it. In the journal entry that no one ever read, where you finally forgave someone who never apologized. In the night you looked at yourself in the mirror, and instead of listing everything wrong with you, you just said, "I'm still here," and meant it. That Tuesday morning is worth staying with. Because transformation almost never looks like transformation in the moment it happens. It looks like a cup of coffee going cold while you sit still. It looks like a decision made without witnesses. It looks like choosing to tell the truth in a small situation that no one else would have noticed if you had just let it slide. The spiritual path that gets talked about is the one that has lightning and visions and moments of blinding revelation. And those things happen. But they are not the foundation. The foundation is made of 10,000 Tuesdays, of 10,000 small moments of integrity that compound over time into something that cannot be dismantled. Proverbs 4:23 says it plainly. Guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Every Tuesday morning you guarded your heart. Every journal entry where you chose truth over comfortable self-deception was an act of guardianship. Every time you said, "I'm still here," and meant it, you were choosing to remain in the game, to not quit on yourself. And that persistence, that quiet refusal to abandon the work even when no one was watching and nothing seemed to be changing, is the most sacred form of faith that exists. That is the work. And the universe doesn't miss it. Nothing escapes the accounting of a universe that is fundamentally ordered around energy and resonance. The silence you kept, the choices you made in it, the discipline, the grief, the forgiveness, the small daily acts of self-respect, all of it was seen. All of it was registered, not by some distant, indifferent deity keeping a ledger, but by the very fabric of the energetic field you were continuously shaping through every thought, every choice, every moment of genuine alignment. Physics itself supports this understanding. Every action generates a wave. Every frequency broadcasts. And you were broadcasting something extraordinary during those years you thought were invisible. You were broadcasting a soul in the process of becoming whole. And that is the most compelling transmission in the universe. Before your divine counterpart can find you in the physical, they have to be able to find you in frequency. And frequency is not built through affirmations alone. It is built through integrity, through the silent choices that no one gives you a medal for, through the way you treat yourself when no one is watching, through the standards you quietly hold even when holding them means walking alone for a while. Every one of those moments created a signal, a specific, unmistakable, soul-level signal that says, "I am here, I am ready." Not desperate, not performing, ready. This is a distinction worth pressing into more deeply, because the difference between readiness and desperation is not always easy to feel from the inside. Desperation has a particular quality to it, a tightness, a grasping, a sense that something is wrong with the present moment and only the future can fix it. It is love-seeking that is actually fear-driven, and the universe, which is not cruel but is precise, cannot match that frequency with what it actually wants to deliver. Because what it wants to deliver requires an open hand, a settled heart, a soul that knows it is whole already, and is not seeking partnership to complete itself but to complement itself. Every time you held your standard in silence, every time you refused to shrink in order to make someone else comfortable, every time you walked away from a dynamic that felt familiar but hollow, you were training your soul in the art of the open hand. And that training is what makes you receivable. And the first key that unlocks this understanding is this: the soul does not call in what it wants, it calls in what it has become. Read that again, slowly, because it reframes every conversation about manifestation you have ever had. The soul does not call in what it wants, it calls in what it has become. Wanting is a surface function. It lives in the mind, in the ego, in the part of us that makes lists and creates vision boards and tries to control outcomes through intention alone. Becoming is a much deeper process. It is the process of alignment, of thought, word, action, and energy converging around a truth until that truth becomes the thing you radiate rather than the thing you reach for. When you have become love, when you have become wholeness, integrity, self-respect, authentic expression, you do not attract a partner who loves you. You attract a partner who recognizes you. And recognition is an entirely different encounter than attraction. Attraction fades. Recognition deepens. Because it is not based on how you look or what you have or how well you perform. It is based on what you are. And what you are has been quietly becoming more and more of itself for years. This is the distinction that changes everything. Most people are trying to attract love by wanting it hard enough, by visualizing it, by saying the right words, by doing the right rituals. And none of that is wrong. But it only works when it is coming from a place of genuine embodiment, not longing. Because longing carries a frequency of absence, and the universe matches frequency, not intention. When you were in that silent season and you were doing the work of becoming more honest, more boundaried, more whole, more yourself, you weren't just surviving. You were transmitting. You were sending out the most powerful love signal that exists, which is the signal of a soul that knows its worth. A soul that knows its worth does not beg, does not shrink, does not compromise its essence to secure a connection that requires that compromise to exist. A soul that knows its worth can sit in the quiet of its own company and find it full rather than empty. Can walk into a room and not immediately scan for external validation. Can hold its own hand through the night and know that it will make it to morning, and that the morning holds more than the night could contain. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. And from that place of alignment, what comes to you does not have to be chased. It is drawn, the way a magnet draws without effort, the way the tide responds to the moon without the moon doing anything other than being exactly what it is. The second key is this: the wound you healed in secret is the wound he was also carrying. This is perhaps the most tender truth on the entire divine partnership path, and it deserves to be spoken slowly. When you did the work no one saw, when you went back into your own history and excavated the places where you learned that love was conditional, where you first decided that you were too much or not enough, where you built the walls and the armor and the carefully constructed personas designed to protect a heart that had already been broken. You were not doing that work only for yourself. You were doing it for the two of you. Because the wound that drove you away from yourself, the wound that kept you accepting less than you deserved, the wound that made you question whether you were truly worthy of the love your soul was calling out for, that wound did not originate in isolation. Wounds of this nature have a resonant quality. They echo across the connection, and your willingness to face yours, to sit inside the discomfort of it and do the painstaking work of healing rather than numbing, created something in the energetic field between you that acted as a permission structure, an unspoken invitation that said, "It is safe to face this. It can be survived. It can be transformed." Twin flame and divine counterpart connections are not built on surface compatibility. They are built on resonant healing. This means that the specific pain you moved through, the specific place in yourself you had to crack open and repair, is often the exact same wound your counterpart is in the process of facing. Your healing did not happen in isolation. On a soul level, your willingness to do what was hard created an energetic permission structure for him to do the same. When you chose to stop abandoning yourself, something in him began to shift around his own patterns of avoidance. When you released the belief that love had to hurt to be real, something in him began to recognize that safety was not weakness. This is the invisible architecture of divine partnership. You heal in parallel. You rise in resonance. And then, when the frequency is matched on both sides, the physical path begins to open. And this is why the path can feel so solitary at times. Because the healing work is interior. It happens in the space between you and your own soul. It cannot be outsourced or rushed or witnessed by another person, because another person's presence in the room would change the nature of the work itself. Some things can only be faced alone. Some truths can only be spoken in the privacy of a heart that has finally decided it is done with the performance. But what feels like the most private, most lonely work of your life is simultaneously the most connected work you will ever do. Because as you move through it, you are not just transforming your own timeline, you are clearing the path that leads to him. The third key is about release. Because there is something you have been holding that was never yours to keep. Let the image form slowly. Think of someone carrying a stone, not a boulder, just a stone, small enough to hold in one hand. But they have been carrying it for so long that they no longer notice the weight of it. It has just become part of how their arm feels, part of the particular way their shoulder sits. And then one day someone asks to see their hands, and they open them and realize that one has been clenched around this stone for years, and the fingers have stiffened around it, and the moment they release it there is a rush of sensation, almost painful in its intensity, as the blood returns to the places that were held too tight for too long. That stone is the connection you have been carrying, not because it is heavy, but because releasing it feels like losing the last piece of evidence that love once found you. Some of you are carrying a version of a past relationship that already ended, but you haven't let the energetic cord dissolve, not because you want the person back, but because releasing them feels like releasing proof that you were once loved, like letting go of that connection means admitting that it was all for nothing. But here is the truth that the soul already knows, even when the mind resists it. Nothing was for nothing. Every connection was curriculum. And the curriculum is complete when you finally release the cord, not in anger, not in grief, but in genuine peace, in genuine gratitude for what was learned, and genuine trust in what is coming. You create a vacancy that the universe rushes to fill, not with something similar, with something at a completely different level, something that matches who you are now, not who you were when that old connection formed. This is not a small thing being asked of you, true release. The kind that is not just words spoken over a candle, but an actual energetic unhooking of what has been tethering two fields together, requires a particular quality of courage. It requires being willing to trust that what comes next will not require you to cling to the evidence of the past in order to feel worthy. It requires a faith that says, the love I have known was real, and it was enough, and I can carry its lessons without carrying its weight. When that kind of release happens, something in the body actually changes. The breath deepens, the chest softens. There's a quality of spaciousness that was not there before, and in that spaciousness, in that cleared field, the universe begins to work with a speed and precision that can feel almost shocking, because you have finally stopped blocking the door with what was and allowed space for what is. The fourth key is the one that tends to be the hardest, and it is this. You have to stop treating divine timing as something happening to you and start understanding it as something happening for you. The distinction between things happening to you and things happening for you is not semantic. It is the difference between a life experienced as one long accumulation of wounds and a life experienced as one long unfolding of intelligence. The first framing positions you as a victim of circumstances that do not care about your well-being. The second positions you as a participant in a process that is orchestrated with a level of precision that your logical mind cannot fully track, but your soul has always understood. And when you apply that second framing to the years of waiting, to the birthdays that passed, to the moments you stood alone at a wedding or a dinner table or a Sunday afternoon and felt the weight of the absence, something shifts. The ache does not disappear, but its meaning changes. It becomes evidence not of abandonment, but of care, of a love so committed to arriving whole that it refused to be rushed into arriving incomplete. The waiting is not random, the timing is not cruel. Every month that has passed, every birthday that came without the relationship you expected, every moment of wondering if it was ever going to happen, that was not abandonment. That was calibration, because love at the level you are calling in is not something that can arrive before you are ready for it. Not because you don't deserve it, but because you deserve it so completely that the universe will not let it come in distorted or half-formed or ahead of the healing that needed to happen first. The love that is moving toward you right now is not the love you would have settled for 3 years ago. And the version of you that exists right now is the version that can actually receive it without sabotaging it. Receive it without sabotaging it. Those words carry so much. Because how many of us have had beautiful things arrive in our lives and found, to our own horror, that we could not hold them, that we pushed them away or dimmed them or found reasons why they couldn't possibly be real? That pattern, that reflexive contraction in the face of something genuinely good, is what the silent years were dissolving. Every time you allowed yourself to be seen, you were practicing receiving. Every time you chose to believe that good things were not accidents waiting to be corrected by the universe, you were practicing receiving. You were becoming someone who could hold what is coming, and that capacity, quiet, built in increments, tested in small moments before the large one arrives, is what the calibration was for. The fifth key is embodiment, and this is where the transmission becomes physical. Embodiment means you stop rehearsing love in your mind and you start practicing it in your life. In the way you speak to yourself in moments of failure, in the way you move through your day, with presence, with intention, with a quiet sense that you matter, in the relationships you already have, the friendships, the family bonds, the community around you, where you practice showing up fully, vulnerably, and without the armor you used to hide behind. When you embody love in those smaller spaces, you are not just becoming a better partner for someone else. You are becoming magnetic. You are creating the conditions where love has somewhere to land. And that is when things start to move. That is when the synchronicities begin. That is when the right people start appearing. That is when the quiet work you did in the dark years starts becoming visible in the light. There is a sacred teaching embedded in the idea of embodiment that goes deeper than the word itself. The body holds what the mind has not yet processed, and the body also broadcasts what the mind cannot quite articulate. When a person is living in their head, conceptualizing love, analyzing love, thinking about love constantly but not yet being it in the physical dimension, there is a kind of energetic hovering that keeps them slightly above the plane where actual meeting happens. Embodiment brings you down into the room, into the moment, into the physical reality where the meeting will occur. It is the difference between standing at a window watching the garden and actually walking outside and letting the sun land on your skin. Both involve the garden, only one involves contact, and contact is what creates magnetism. Contact with your own life, contact with your own body, contact with the small, luminous, ordinary moments that are always available and always sacred and that tell the universe, I am here, in the body, on the earth, ready to meet what is coming. The sixth key is one that many on this path forget entirely, and it is about separation. Because if there has been a runner, if there has been distance, if there has been a situation where someone who felt significant to your soul pulled away or disappeared or became unavailable in a way that made no sense, this key is for you. Separation is one of the most misunderstood dynamics on the entire divine partnership path, and it is responsible for some of the deepest suffering that seekers in this space experience. When someone who felt like home suddenly goes cold or distant or disappears entirely, the mind immediately reaches for an explanation that centers on lack. Something you did, something you are, something that made you not enough to hold them. But the soul knows differently, even when the mind is screaming its interpretations. The soul knows that what looks like abandonment is often architecture, the universe separating two people who belong together in order to give them each the conditions they need to complete what cannot be completed in each other's presence. It is the kiln and the clay. Transformation requires heat, and sometimes the heat can only be reached alone. Separation on the divine counterpart path is not failure, it is not rejection. It is both souls completing what the other cannot complete for them. It is the universe creating the conditions for two incomplete halves to each become whole, so that when they finally come together, they are not two people clinging to each other out of need. They are two whole people choosing each other out of alignment. The distance that hurt you was not abandonment. It was preparation. His preparation. Yours. And now that preparation is reaching its completion. There is a teaching in the book of Ruth that illuminates this. Ruth's path to Boaz was not direct. It passed through grief and loss and a period of walking in a foreign land among people who did not know her. And in that strange, difficult, transitional time, she demonstrated every quality that made her recognizable to him when the moment of meeting finally came. Her loyalty, her integrity, her willingness to stay faithful to what was right, even when circumstances offered her easier options. None of that character would have been visible, might not even have fully formed, if the path to him had been shorter. The detour was the development. And so has yours been. The seventh key is the quietest one, and perhaps the most important. It is this. The door to reunion opens from the inside. This truth has a particular resonance for those who have been in a state of waiting, of hoping, of wondering when things will shift. Because waiting, by its very nature, orients the gaze outward. It puts the source of change somewhere beyond the self, in his readiness, in the timing of events that feel outside of your influence, in the alignment of circumstances that your logical mind cannot control. And while it is true that there are elements of divine timing that exist beyond your conscious direction, the orientation of waiting, the passive, outward-facing stance of hoping for movement from the outside, misses the most essential truth of the process. The door opens from the inside, your inside. The work you have been doing is not preparation for the moment to come. It is the activation of it. You cannot will him into readiness. You cannot love him into being ready for you. What you can do, what you have actually been doing this whole time in all of those silent moments, is make sure that your side of the door is unlocked, your heart open, your frequency clear, your worthiness intact, your expectations aligned with what your soul actually deserves, and not just what your fear has learned to accept. When all of that is in place, and for many of you listening right now, it is closer to that than you have ever been, the door opens. Not with drama, not with a grand announcement, often with something that looks almost ordinary from the outside. A conversation, a glance, a moment that both of you will later agree felt like recognition. Because that is what this has always been. Recognition. Recognition is not the same as falling. Falling implies a loss of control, a surrender to something overwhelming, an experience that happens to you. Recognition is something different. It is the quiet certainty that precedes words, the sense that you have arrived somewhere you have always been trying to return to. It is coming home to a door you have stood before in dreams. It is the particular quality of attention you give, something that you know matters in a way that defies explanation. Recognition lands in the body differently than attraction. It does not make the heart race with anxiety. It makes it settle, quietly, deeply. The way a body settles when it finally lies down after a very long journey. He is not a stranger you are hoping to meet. He is a soul your soul already knows, and somewhere in him, in his own version of the quiet work, in his own nights of choosing growth over comfort, he has been finding his way back to a frequency that matches yours. The silence you sat in was not empty. It was a conversation you didn't know you were having, a love letter written in choices and healing in becoming. And now, the letter is almost delivered. There is a precision to that phrase, almost delivered, that deserves to be felt rather than rushed past. Almost does not mean uncertain. Almost does not mean uncertain. Almost does not mean it might not come. Almost means the movement is already in progress. The letter is in the hands of the carrier. The address has been confirmed. The distance that remains is the final distance. The last yards of a journey that has covered more ground than you will ever fully know. And in those final yards, the instruction is not to sprint. The instruction is to breathe, to settle into the reality of what is already moving, to allow the remaining distance to close with the same trust that got you through all the other distances that came before it. So here is the truth this entire transmission has been building toward. You are not still waiting because you are not enough. You are in this final stretch because you have done the work that makes the real thing possible. You are not being overlooked by love. You are being protected by it. Protected from connections that would have taken you off course. Protected from timing that would have brought something beautiful before you could fully hold it. Your soul did not come here for a love that almost fits. It came here for the real thing, the whole thing, and the whole thing requires a whole you. Read that phrase one more time. The whole thing requires a whole you. Not a perfect you. Not a you who has erased every scar and resolved every tension and arrived at some imagined state of spiritual completion, where there is nothing left to work on. A whole you. A you who has looked at every broken place and chosen to heal it rather than hide it. A you who has been honest enough with yourself to know what you actually want rather than what you have been told to want. A you who has stood in the dark and found that you were enough company for yourself. That is the whole you that has been quietly forming. And it is the version of you that the real thing can actually find. Because it is the version of you that has stopped disappearing. Tonight before sleep, place your hand over your heart and say these words as if you mean them. Because you do. I release what no longer carries my frequency. I call back every piece of myself I have given away in fear. I trust what was done in silence. I trust what is moving in the unseen. I am ready. I am whole. And what is mine cannot miss me. Let those words be more than words. Let them be a declaration made from the deepest room of yourself, the room where the frequency lives, the room where the quiet work was done, the room that is now full and clear and sending its signal out into the field of what is coming, calling back every fragment of yourself that was left behind in old relationships, in the hands of people who didn't know what they were holding, in the moments you shrunk yourself to fit a space too small for what you actually are, calling it all back. Not in anger, not in grief. In completion, I trust what was done in silence. Every Tuesday morning, every journal entry, every mirror moment, every prayer that felt like it went nowhere and was in fact going everywhere. I trust what is moving in the unseen. Because the unseen is where the architecture was always being built, and I am ready. Not arriving at readiness someday. Ready, now. In this body, in this breath, in this moment. And what is mine cannot miss me. because I have built myself into something unmistakable. Before you scroll, drop one word in the comments. Just one word that describes what you were doing in your silence. The healing, the releasing, the growing. One word. And then read someone else's word and let them know they are not alone in it. Because that is what this space is. Not just content, not just information. It is a gathering of souls who have done the quiet work and are now stepping into the season where it begins to speak. Share this. If someone in your world is in their silent season and needs to know that it is not lost time. Subscribe if you want to keep receiving these transmissions, because there is more coming. And you are exactly where you are supposed to be.